Hi, I'm Abel Keogh, author of the book Marrying a Widower, and today we're talking about the second reason that marriages to widowers thrive, and that happens when they set healthy boundaries with family, friends, and anyone else who thinks they get a vote in your relationship. Because sometimes the hardest part about being with a widower isn't the widower himself, it's everyone in his orbit. So, for example, a widower can be completely ready to start a new chapter, but his adult children, the late wife's family, the old friend group, people at church, and even the nosy next door neighbor may act like they get to decide what he should do next. And most of these people probably mean well, but your marriage can't run on other people's opinions, expectations, or outdated loyalties. That's why boundaries are important. If you don't define them, someone else will, and I guarantee it won't be in your relationship's favor. Now, if either of you is being pulled emotionally in a direction that competes with your commitment to each other, you're going to run into problems. A strong marriage needs boundaries that come from inside the relationship, not from guilt, pressure, or people who think they're entitled to a seat at your table. So let me give you a real world example of this. A couple I talked to years ago struggled the first few years of their marriage because the widower's adult daughter refused to call his new wife anything other than dad's friend. She wouldn't acknowledge the marriage, and like they even had family photos, and she would refuse to be in the photos if the new wife was there. Every gathering she was at was tense, and finally, the widower, realizing that his marriage was on the brink, sat down with her and said in a kind but firm way that we're not asking for your approval, we just want some basic courtesy. You don't have to like the marriage or even agree with my decision, but we need you to respect it. And if the drama continues, I'm going to have to spend less time with you because my marriage comes first. Now, that one boundary didn't fix everything overnight, but it sent a very clear message that his relationship mattered, and she didn't get to minimize it. And slowly, the good news is things changed. That's the power of boundaries. Now, just to be clear, setting boundaries isn't just the widower's job. If you have adult children that expect you to drop everything for them, or friends who trash your husband or undermine the relationship, you need to set boundaries as well, because if you tolerate it, you're inviting problems into the marriage. I was fortunate. Most family and friends were supportive when I started a new relationship with Juliana, but even then I still had to have uncomfortable conversations with people. I had to tell people that I couldn't keep participating in certain traditions or events because Juliana and I were building a new life together, and a new life meant new routines, not recycled obligations. Thankfully, most people respected it once they realized we were serious about protecting our marriage, and life has gone on. So if you're dating or engaged to a widower, the time to set boundaries is now because it'll save you a lot of pain later. If you're already married and struggling with this issue, it's not too late. What you need to do is sit down and counsel together and talk through what boundaries need to be set. What does loyalty look like? How much influence, if any, should others have? What behaviors will or won't you tolerate? Then it's up to the widower to have the conversations, and you need to back each other up when those boundaries get tested. Now, if he won't stand beside you when things get tough, that's a red flag. But if you won't stand beside him, don't expect him to fight these battles alone. Marriage is a team sport, and you face the tough stuff together, or it'll eat away the relationship from both sides. Understand that marrying a widower isn't about replacing the past, it's about protecting the future. And sometimes that starts with the word no. No to guilt. No to guilt trips. No to being minimized. No to emotional manipulation disguised as tradition. No to what she would have wanted. You don't owe anyone an explanation for setting boundaries, but you do owe it to each other to build a marriage that's protected, prioritized, and built to last. I'm Abel Keogh, author of the book Marrying a Widower, and we'll see you all next week.